Happy holidays, Rink Rats. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another podcast, Season 7, Episode 10. Connor and Connor versus Connor and Connor. Welcome back. It's been a while. It's been a few
Did you say Connor?
Connor. There's a guy named Connor in a hockey game last night. That's what
My name is not Connor.
My name's not either, but we heard both those Connors, Connor and Connor and Connor and Connor. They're all pretty good. Andy Campbell here, representing the Rinkcast with the co-founder, Jeff Osborn, co-founder of the Rink. Gate, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, pitter patter. Let's get at her.
There it is. There it is.
We're doing good. We're doing good. We're ready to go.
And Sean Fitzgerald rocking your ugly sweater tonight for the holidays, which is great. And it's Darth Claus.
Yeah, it is Merry Sithmas. And yes, I know
Merry
nobody
Sithmas.
cares. Nobody cares. I know. And my hat is a
Darth
Zebra
Claus.
collection.
Santa Vader. What's that? What's that hat?
Zebra collection Hawks hat with
Oh,
the
that's good
plaid
stuff.
on the brim.
That's good stuff.
Nobody cares, Sean.
There it is.
Nobody
The
cares.
first of many. The first of
Stop
many.
saying good, Sean. You sound
Yeah,
like an
well-
ass.
I didn't say it.
Well, it's just the three of us tonight, so we might get a little goofy, folks, if you're all okay with that.
Okay.
Which is But let's talk Hawks. We haven't talked Hawks in a little while here. And if you've been following the Chicago Blackhawks, they've certainly been in the news here and there and everywhere. And last night in particular, for another Connor Bedard highlight. Let's start with that. What you're looking for right now in Chicago Blackhawk hockey is you're looking for at least one big Connor Bedard moment. And then you just sit back and go, okay, we got it. And then you're probably going to be watching a loss more often than not, maybe not. But anyway, last night at Edmonton, the kid went off. He went off with
Early on.
He went off early on, and I mean, we could replay this 100 different times in our heads and talk about it. But let's talk about your impressions on the goal gate. Connor Bedard, man,
It was quick, man. He got that thing off, and he has such a short range with his stick. He just snaps it off in like a less than 1 foot area to just let that thing go. There were sticks in the way. It was a terrible angle, and he still got it up over the other side, the far side. Like it was crazy. I saw it. I'm like, I can't believe he just did that.
I mean, if you look at the close-up of it, there's all these views that are everywhere. There's a close-up that the Blackhawks post on their Instagram. He's not even looking at the net when he shoots either. He's looking like straight ahead. It's unbelievable.
He's
Sean,
done that a couple times. He's done that a couple times where he's done the look off or he's done the fake look. I've seen him do that like 4 or 5 times, I think, thus far in the season. Different plays, like more passing than shooting. But yeah.
Sean, you're catching our frisbee here.
I'm catching the frisbee. Second shift of the game. I've got the highlight. Yeah, Gates got it right. He's looking off and just kind of snaps it off to the upper corner there. And I thought I saw a shot chart where I think a lot of his goals are coming in the upper right-hand corner there. So
charts and graphs. That's Ray Napientek's favorite.
Yeah, charts and graphs,
Yeah. That's his first goal since the Winnipeg
charts,
game.
graphs, and Seth Orr. That's Ray's 3 favorite things.
Can confirm.
First goal since the Winnipeg game. He's starting to pile up a lot of assists, a lot of apples. Well, there's a couple things about Bedard right now that, some people are like, oh, wow, few players can do that. I don't know any player that can do what he did last night. I don't know anyone that can draw it in that close to their body and get it with that trajectory, with that kind of speed. But I think that sorry, Brendan. Brendan, a little nervous. There's only 3 of us tonight, but hey, get your comments loaded. We can go. We'll go for a while.
For what?
I think the thing that I found most impressive about Bedard in that entire play, when they slow down the replay, when he's cutting across the far blue line, he puts his stick on the ice immediately when he sees that he can be an option.
Mm-hmm.
So the pass by Vlasic was terrific, but he's skating like young hockey players with their habits, skating with their sticks in the air. All he did was just say, "Here's the target, hit it."
Yeah.
And then he scores the goal, and he turns around, and you see all these kids pumping their fists and touching the ice and doing it, jumping on the glass. Yeah, which he had every right to do considering what he just did. And instead, he points right at Vlasic. Good pass. And then after he went through the high five line, did it again. Went up to Vlasic again and was like, dude, that was a great pass. So
Yeah, I mean,
we're big
all
on
those
this.
things. Those are all actually excellent points, Andy. You brought up with the stick on the ice. See too many times where kids, no matter what hockey it is, whether it's deck hockey, roller hockey, or ice hockey, they're chugging away, sticks up in the air. Like, what are you going to do with your stick up in the air like that? You're not going to do anything to anybody. Like, you got to get your stick in there. And then for him to congratulate the dude on the back end who gave him the nice pass, that's always good. Like, I tried telling my son that. I'm like, you got to emphasize when people give you a good pass or something like that, or if you give someone a good pass and they score a good goal, like, you got to give it to them, give them the compliment, because that stuff will happen more often.
Right.
I mean, if you encourage that.
Absolutely. He made that moment about Vlasic.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So,
he's understood the importance of being a team guy. Like, he's understood the moment where he's always trying to congratulate who gives him the pass. He's available when people, like, off the ice, when kids want to see him. Like, for an 18-year-old kid, he understands the gravity of his role within the organization.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I mean, it's mature is what it is. At 18 years old, I don't think I know 100%. I did not have the maturity that he has right now. And I know that I wouldn't have congratulated.
You still don't.
That's true. And I'm 40 years
most
old.
Most of us don't. Yeah.
I think he's really big about congratulating people. And hats off to Vlasic. Vlasic's, we've really praised his, just steady Eddie, good defense, but he's made a couple really good passes like that, setting up goals. I think this is his second or third one where he's put it on Bedard's tape and Bedard's cashed it in the season.
I mean, I think if I was going to name the Blackhawks' top 3 players thus far this year, Vlasic would be in the top 3.
Yes, I would 100%
I would say
agree
Bedard,
with you.
Vlasic, and maybe Dickinson. Well, Mrazek. Mrazek might be in that conversation too. But Vlasic's been fabulous. I mean, I don't know how many people saw Vlasic having this kind of year. I mean,
nobody.
Nobody.
I mean, this is what you had hoped for when they drafted a kid that big from Chicagoland area.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
Everything fit real well in there. But this is what you hoped he would turn into, what he is, what it looks like he may have really turned into. And he's played really good this year. I mean, he had 1 year in Rockford after coming out of college.
Yeah. He played 10 games, I think, and then he went down for all of last season.
Yeah, and then like he college to Rockford right to the NHL. Like, a lot of defensemen, especially in the Chicago system, don't do it that quickly.
Right.
If at all. So props to him, man. This is what we wanted to see. I'm a big fan of Alex Vlasic right now. He's one of my favorite players on the team.
He's been phenomenal, and Dickinson has also been great. And I'm going to kind of skip around to one of the bullet points that we're going to talk about. But Boris Katchouk has been waived and he's been sent to Rockford. That's been a recent development. But Joey Anderson's arrival, I believe, has contributed to that. In some sense, I mean, Joey Anderson's been a pretty good staple on that line.
Yeah.
And probably made this decision pretty easy. Now, all you people on Twitter, I saw someone on Twitter be like, well, I hope Boris goes down and figures it out because Radish isn't having a good year. So, if Radish isn't having a good year and Katchouk hasn't been doing well, then, man, we really lost the Hagel trade. Come on.
Were you following Uncle Al again? Because that was probably his take, because he was praising the hockey trade for that. Also, like you said, Joey Anderson is the reason Boris Katchouk is down. And before he got sent down, Katchouk was noticeable. I honestly don't think it's just Joey Anderson. I think it's Lukas Reichel being on the fourth line. There's no minutes for Boris Katchouk. Boris Katchouk is a fourth line guy, and right now Lukas Reichel is playing on the fourth line, not playing many minutes, and that fourth line spot should be Boris Katchouk's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I saw he got waived and cleared waivers and went down to Rockford, I instantly thought Reichel's taking up his spot on the fourth line.
Yeah.
And as of right now, in my opinion, I know we're jumping around a lot, Boris Katchouk is more valuable to the Blackhawks on this team right now than Lukas Reichel. That's how poorly he's played.
For the interim, yeah. I mean, I don't...
Well, based on his level of play. Obviously, for the future, Lukas Reichel still has more potential. But right now, Lukas Reichel is that bad.
Oh, yeah. For tomorrow night's lineup card, or for whatever lineup card in the next couple of weeks, then yeah. I mean, Reichel's value. We're going to get into Reichel in a little bit, folks, and we're going to try to be as nice as we can. But
to be fair,
time will tell on that. Any other thoughts around the Katchouk move, the Boris being sent down gate?
I mean, for
This kinda is what it is.
fourth line players. I mean, fourth line players, it doesn't take much. Like there's a whole AHL full of fourth line players. So sure. I mean, he had that stretch where it looked like every game he was going to score. He had these amazing moments, like he had a breakaway or hit the post, and there were like 4 or 5 games right in a row, and then he scored a couple, and then I think the gas just ran out. I mean, it is what Boris Katchouk is. He's just a marginal, maybe quadruple A-ish guy.
Just kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And Joey Anderson and Cole Gutman. Cole Gutman came up too, and Cole Gutman got healthy. So there's another reason why Boris got sent down. He gets to hang out with Natasha down in Rockford. So
I suggest you let that one marinate.
That's brutal.
Oh,
brutal. Yeah. So. Oh my goodness. So
I'm watching the replay in the other screen. I'm watching myself with my head in my hand.
Oh boy.
It's like PTSD, living it all over again.
Yep.
Anyway,
there you go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So Korchinski's out. We've got that going on. Korchinski's out with he's dealing with a family matter. No, folks, this is not a Corey Perry thing going on. He's not in any trouble. He's on, what do they call it? Roster leave? Something like that. There's like a term, but it's basically he's not on the roster. He's not part of the cap hit right now because he's dealing with he's got some family stuff going on at home. There's no timetable on his return. So with that, with Seth Jones out, so now the D are really thin. So we've got Isaac Phillips comes right back up. Isaac Phillips. A lot of people think Isaac Phillips should be up permanently.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I think the issue here is that, there's so much roster movement that's difficult for the Blackhawks because they need to hit the cap floor.
Right.
So I think
because we all wish Zaitsev would go to Robida Island.
Right. Zaitsev has to be up. You
But
better hope
he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to play. That's my biggest issue. Why doesn't Zaitsev play one out of every 4? Why is he alternating with Louis Crevier?
Crevier.
See? You knew you'd get one out of him. Crevier.
Crevier
pattern.
I know. You guys missed me last time. I guarantee it.
Did you do that?
We always miss you, Sean. We always miss you.
Did you do that one intentionally? That's what I'm wondering. Did you?
No, actually.
Figure it
out. In any event,
Crevier
should play one every 4 games. I don't understand why Luke Richardson is consistently playing him, as well as Tenorti. I get Tenorti's playing now because of the injuries and Korchinski being out, but once everybody's back, I don't want to see Zaitsev again.
No, I'm a Tenorti fan, by the way. I like Tenorti. Actually,
are.
last year I did. This year he hasn't been so good. But go ahead, Andy.
No. I'm a big Tenorti guy too. I like to see him out there. I like his toughness. And on a team like this, it really doesn't matter a whole lot who's in that back six.
I'd probably rather have him out there than Zaitsev most nights, honestly. So,
right. But I mean, Jones didn't make the trip. Jones is obviously hurt. He's dealing with something. If he's not making the trip, I mean, what on earth will they do if they have to put Jones on the long-term IR? I mean, doesn't that count towards the cap? Doesn't that give? I don't think
they have to.
They don't have to. Okay.
No, like you don't have to put them on LTIR. Most teams do use it because they need the space, but I don't think you have. You can just put them on. I think maybe regular IR or whatever.
IR. Yeah,
and that way he's not an active part of your roster. You can replace him with a player, but you don't have to worry about the cap. You could still let them eat up the cap money because like they've got money to throw, they have money to burn. So,
gotcha.
When you go on LTIR too, the cap goes up. You don't your cap number goes up.
Well,
you put them on long term because I mean they've got over $12 million on injured reserve right now.
It's not really that the cap number goes up. What happens is you could exceed the cap by that much. That's what the LTIR is. So the cap number is still the same, but you're able to exceed it by that LTIR number or whatever it is that it comes out to.
And unfortunately, there's no David Clarksons or any of those guys left in the world where you could just trade for somebody to put on there.
Hey, I would take a look at Arizona's roster. I would take a look at Arizona's roster. I think there's still some guys on there that are eating up a lot of space that are never going to play hockey again. I I saw a list the other day of about 4 of them.
Well, that was part of that when they released Perry. They did need to make a trade for that very reason,
right?
To hit the floor for a player number 91 that Sean will now say his name for us.
No, I am not going to.
Yes.
I will let somebody else do that one.
That's awesome. Beauvillier. Beauvillier.
Leave it to be. I'll just call him Leave It to Beaver. How about that?
Can confirm.
Yeah. What is going on with Seth Jones anyway? What happened to him? It was just all of a sudden, hey, he's not traveling. I mean, did anyone see him go down? Did anyone see him take a hit? Like, is it just
no, I've been missing a lot of games, so like I didn't see what happened at all, to be honest.
Has anything been reported as far as injuries or anything like that? I mean, I don't like.
What did they say? It was upper body? I thought they said upper body. That's all I heard.
Google it right now. Upper body.
Maybe Ben Pope was the one who. Yeah, Ben Pope was the one who first tweeted out. Yeah, they're just saying upper body injury. Appears to injure his shoulder if he can get hit by Washington's Capitals forward. During some, I'm not reading his name. Late in the third period, was in an awkward position as he lunged for a loose puck. So
got it. All right, so he's hurt. So Seth Jones is out. Well, that's too bad. So the Blackhawks active D right now. Seth Jones is still technically on the roster, but not on the trip. So right now they have 6 defensemen on their active roster. Nikita Zaitsev, Connor Murphy, Philip Roos, Vlasic, Isaac Phillips, and Louis Crevier. And that's pretty thin back there. They better hope that no one else goes down on this trip. I mean, obviously they'll call up someone else. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll get a Nolan Allen, get a call up, maybe a Del Mastro, something like that.
I'd like to see those guys play. I'd like to see.
Would love it. Yeah.
I don't.
Bardo.
Thanks, Bardo. I don't see. I don't know if they're. This is just me purely speculating. I think Del Mastro and Nolan Allen are paired together at Rockford. I think they just want to keep them together. I would think Andy's boy Wyatt Kaiser would get the call back up if anybody else was going to get the call back up.
I don't know. Does anyone have a Wyatt Kaiser report? How's he doing down there?
He's a -2. I looked it up today. He was a -2.
Right. I was going to say our boy Ray Napientek is probably tuned in on those stats right now.
I mean, he needs to learn how to play defense. That's why he's down there. I hope he figures that part out.
And by the way, the Arizona I almost said Cardinals. The Arizona Coyotes. Shea Weber is still on their cap for 2 more seasons after this.
That's who we want. That's who we want. Bring on Shea.
And,
so anyway, no, I mean, I feel you, Shawnee. I mean, it's definitely stay with the plan with Del Mastro and with Nolan Allen. I agree with that 100%. But and it's nice that guys like Philip Roos, who it's been
Roos is loose.
The Roos is loose. They are able to come up and take a shot, and let's just make sure everyone stays healthy. We don't need anyone hurt. So on to the fun stuff. I have a feeling that a lot of people in the Chicagoland area, most noticeably by his comments lately, head coach Luke Richardson, are losing their patience with Lukas Reichel. Lukas Reichel.
This is new to me. I have not heard of this.
2019, 19th overall pick, as you all know, Blackhawks first round pick that year, marinated in Rockford, came up last year, played 23 games, had 15 points. Everyone thought this is the year that he was going to make an impact, and his impact has been minimal, if anything. And I think you can say now it's been disappointing. Everyone agree? Lukas Reichel. I mean,
put it mildly, yeah.
Yeah.
His defenders on the old Twitter are saying he's not playing with anyone good.
Okay.
He picked it up last year.
He's been tried on every single line.
And
they've put him with Bedard. He had his time with Bedard. He's had time with everybody, and I mean, he just doesn't play with enough grit for the modern day NHL.
And he seems like he's just wild out there. He's just skating 1,000 miles an hour, but not going anywhere. Every time I look up, like he's flying around, but he's not really doing anything. It's crazy to see that. It looks like the speed skater out there just skating around in the middle of the ice, doing circles. I don't know what he's doing out there.
You almost like forget that he's part of the team. I mean, I just don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, so here, the latest on Reichel last night here, and I'll just read this off. Luke Richardson said after the game, he's got to have more fight in him. We saw that one of his first games back after sitting out. I think he's just down on himself. It's pretty hard for a coach to give a player confidence. All we can do is to show him some pointers. He's a young player, and there's going to be ups and downs. We're going to stick with him. So, I mean, it is nice of him to say we're going to stick with him at the end of that. But, and I'm obviously this is all in context, and I'm just reading a quote, but sounds pretty impatient right now with Reichel and just saying, like, I mean, if I'm Luke Richardson, I'm, and I'm talking to Kyle Davis, I'm going, what do you want us to do with this kid?
I mean, he played 5 minutes and 54 seconds after 2 periods total last night. I think he finished just short of 11 minutes. Like I think Eric pointed it out. Eric Andrews, the content editor of the Rink, pointed out in our group chat that on the first Edmonton goal, Reichel was just standing there. Like once he turned the puck, he just skated into the offensive zone, turned the puck over, and then didn't know what to do as Edmonton flew down the ice and McDavid fed Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So I think, like you said, Andy, they're running out of patience with him. And to all the Reichel defenders out on the Twitterverse, like that he hadn't played with anybody good, he's played 51 minutes with Kurashev, Reichel, and Connor Bedard. He's a -5.
Ouch.
1 goal for, 6 goals allowed. His best line last season was Andres Athanasiou, Philip Kurashev.
Hey, I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
How do you get that one right?
I don't know.
I know you're shocked as you are.
I think I shocked myself, but he had 4 goals.
Can
and 4 goals
confirm.
allowed. He played 109 minutes with them last year, and this year, like he's played up and down the lineup. The most time he's played with is Tyler Johnson, Taylor Radish, and he's only got 1 goal for and 1 goal allowed.
Well, that was when they threw him at center, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah. And John Scott even pointed it on the Blackhawks Talk podcast that, like, he's just not bringing it in every night. He's not.
He's not bringing it any night, apparently.
No, so I don't know. I tweeted at Ben Pope of the Chicago Sun-Times yesterday asking if he was waiver exempt. He is. I said, is there any chance he goes down to Rockford? And Ben, and as Andy read, Luke Richardson said, it's not likely. So I don't know what else to do.
Well, I give you a real easy way to give a player confidence. Send him down a level. Let him go down there and just slay for a little while, get a little bit of that juju back, and then bring him back up. That would be the way to go, right? While you can do it. Because if you like, now is the perfect time. If he is waiver exempt, this is the perfect time to send him down. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to rush him through waivers, because then if you get to a point where you don't want to put him on waivers to put him down, so he's got to sit there with your team. Like, now is the time to fix him, not later. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I don't really. I think at one point on this pod, we talked about if we get to game 20 with Lukas Reichel and he's not at the very least, 10 to 13 points, that it's time to start thinking about, either sending him down or at some point moving on from him. Now it's 27 games and he has 6 points to speak of, and he's supposed to be an offensive minded player. And
as John Scott pointed out, which I loved, is he's got 2 goals and neither one of them required any skill whatsoever. They were basically just banked off of his stick. I'm like, way to go, John Scott.
Yeah, I mean,
John solved it. Yeah.
I mean, this kid has played over 100 games in Rockford. He has 41 goals in the AHL at that time. Honestly, there are guys that you draft as late first round picks that end up being career AHLers. I mean, that they just don't work out. and I don't know if this is what we're looking at with them. I mean, at what point does Kyle Davidson this summer trying to get everyone together and saying, you know what, we might want to cash out on this kid? Let's.
I mean, if this continues to go like it is going, I could definitely see them investigating that. See if they could find someone somewhere else. It's maybe in the same kind of scenario, a young player that needs a change of scenery, and do one of those kind of swaps. Like I could see that happening, but I don't think you're not giving up on them just by sending them down. I don't think it's necessarily good to give up on them just yet. No. But you have to start thinking, you have to start putting it in your mind that maybe there's going to be a point if this continues and this is what he is, that maybe you got to go, you got to move on from him. But it wouldn't be smart of Kyle from Chicago to not investigate, or at least keep it in the back of his head.
Right.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Kyle's got to be thinking long term. Like all of this is, he's got to be building to a point where if we're ready to go and Reichel's not ready to be a part of it, they've got to give him enough rope to see where it's at before we obviously move on. But this is the ground floor of the rebuild, the lowest possible level. It should only go up from here. They're going to start stacking players on top of that. So if they start bringing in some of their college prospects or their draft picks from this coming year, and he starts moving farther down the depth chart, you got to move on. Yeah. And we're not there yet, though. But
no, Bardo with a good comment. Maybe by January we'll see it. Maybe they have some sort of plan for him to get him through the holidays, see if he can turn it around. But I don't know. I feel like I've been waiting for him to turn it around since game 5 or so. It's just not happening. So something's up with this kid, and ultimately he just might not pan out. I don't know. I mean, I
don't want to be like the guy that dances on the grave, when last year they were like, oh, he's the future and this and that, and I wait him and Bedard and this and that all last year. But that was a little overcorrecting.
Yeah.
With that, and now also some people are panicking because he could turn it around for the next 20 games. So some people are panicking way back the other way. I don't know. Last year he nobody had seen him before. And my whole thing is wait until he makes it one, especially with goalies, wait until they make it one time through the league and everybody sees them and then gets to know what they are. They could be, I know it's film and stuff, but there's an unknown quantity that you don't know this guy's just yet. And maybe he took advantage of that last year. That could be what that is. Or maybe that's what he really is. We're not really sure just yet. But one way or the other, he needs to get it going, because if he doesn't get it going, then what he is a bust then.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we've a lot of times in this pod said, all right, Lucas, we're rooting for you.
Nobody's rooting against him here. We want him to be good, but we've got to be realistic about it.
Well, I mean, it was, oh my gosh, we got Bedard, but don't forget about Reichel. Don't forget about Reichel, and now it's ready to forget.
It's going to be the Connor Bedard and Lukas Reichel show. Right. How many times did we hear that?
He's an elite center, I think I heard so many times. Yeah. It's just, I think we need to temper our expectations as a fan base either way. Mm-hmm. If somebody has a good run, yes, we get excited, but don't put him in the Hall of Fame. And if he gets a bad stretch, don't automatically send him over to Austria to play with, I don't even know who's over there.
I was waiting for what name you were going to come up with.
Oh, I could have said Drew LeBlanc, We could have said Drew LeBlanc over there.
That guy needs to chill out.
So, who is playing in Austria?
Drew LeBlanc.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff on Reichel there. So, one thing that has been, excuse me, keeps showing up in the Twitter
here
stream.
We go.
And here it goes. We're not doing a ticker for this one. We're going heavy. We're going bold because that's what we want to do.
That is the Osborn way.
There it is. It's been all over the Twitter universe since John Butchergross first mentioned it weeks ago, and now Hawkmania seems to be grabbing onto him. William Nylander for the Toronto Maple Leafs, an excellent offensive player, is going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer as a 28-year-old. People are excited about the idea. Some people are excited about the idea of him joining the Chicago Blackhawks, who have so much cap space, much more cap space than the Toronto Maple Leafs do, to re-sign him because they're going to be up against it. Everyone's saying, oh my gosh, the Blackhawks are just going to get him. They're going to get him. And Tab Bramford, who has written good columns before about the Blackhawks,
He even wrote a book.
Has suggested that they sign William Nylander.
A lot of people wrote books.
Yeah. My book's coming out next week. For 7 years for a $12 million cap hit. Gate, is this the right time to do this?
Oh, here we go.
Is it the right time?
Back check, paycheck, boys.
Right. Is it the right time and is it the right player?
No. It is
Awesome.
it's probably no to both. He's 28. You're signing for 12 more years. Like, you're signing well into his 30s. Sure, he can be a dynamic player at times. He is lazy. He has, by all accounts, entitlement issues. His father and his brother both played for the Chicago Blackhawks, and I believe they don't have such a great relationship with the Chicago Blackhawks organization. There's just so many red flags here. You do want William Nylander. You bring William Nylander to come in to be the guy, because that's what he's going to want. He's proven that, to be the guy. And you got Connor Bedard, who's going to be the guy. I don't know how that's going to work. And by the time the Blackhawks are actually really good, he's going to be in his early 30s. And this is not Marian Hossa. Like, this guy is not like a fierce two-way player, dependable, captain worthy. That is not William Nylander. So you're
not.
It really would not go well. I feel it would not go well. I don't think anywhere he goes is going to go that well, honestly. I mean, he's playing on a team full of all-stars right now.
Right.
People are going to score. I mean, there's going to be mismatch issues because you playing on an all-star team. Now, when you're matched up 100% against the other team's best defensive players every single night, which doesn't always happen in Toronto because they have to split them up with all the players, all the skill they have with Marner and Matthews and, Tavares. And like, they have a lot of skill on that team, so they can split it up a little bit. But when you're the guy, and the guy, Nylander won't go into the corners. He's just a softish, kind of no check, light player, and he could score some great goals, but he's probably going to hurt you on the back end more than anything. And do you want your prized possession, Connor Bedard, to watch this guy skate only one way and kind of, straight-legged back on defense, and when it comes to going into a corner, so they got a puck, not doing it. And I mean, we've all seen the videos of the way he curls off when there's going to be any sort of
ring turn.
I mean, he's better than his brother, but that's not saying much. And sure, he does have elite scoring skill, but the rest of his game, he's not a well-rounded player. And, a lot of people will say that like he doesn't perform in the playoffs, and that's not necessarily correct. He has put up points in the playoffs. I think he's almost a point per game player in the playoffs, maybe more. So he has put up points, but has he helped his team win? There's one thing, there's a lot of empty goals and things like that. Maybe I don't see the reason the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup because of the great William Nylander. It's probably going to be Austin Matthews. No. It's probably going to be Mitch Marner. It may even be Jonathan or John Tavares. So I don't think it's ever going to be Nylander.
No, that's the thing. And he's been able to play Robin. He hasn't been the face of the franchise. And if he wants to be the face of the franchise, it is not going to be in Chicago, period. It is going to be Connor Bedard's team. And then the other thing is he's only been around studs his entire career. He has only played with the best offensive weapons in the game of hockey. And if he's not on Connor Bedard's line, is he going to be able to carry the team the way that they need to be carried and not be the defensive liability that he actually is? And to your earlier point, the reason that I really don't like this gate is because it's just not the right time. Let's qualify all these things. William Nylander is a hell of a hockey player. He's awesome. He's on a tear this year. He's doing very, very well. But the Hawks are in no position next year to talk contending for the cup.
His 2 to 3 years out at least. Yeah.
It's 2 to 3 years out at least. And by the time they're going to be contending or they're really going to make a push for this thing, being saddled with $12 million of William Nylander, who's going to be bitter and upset that there's younger, more attractive talent around him, is just going to be toxic. It'll be toxic. It just will not work out. And then you have a situation where, you won a cup with Brian Campbell. In 2010, the Blackhawks won a Stanley Cup with Brian Campbell, who was being paid $7 million a year. He was so overpaid. And they had to bring him back in 2011 because they couldn't move him. You might end up being in a situation with William Nylander that you were with Brian Campbell, but you might not have the cup. And you don't want to be in that spot. I mean, what did Brian Campbell cost the Blackhawks ultimately? Bufflin, Ladd. We can go on and on. Niemi, who at the time they really wanted to bring back. It's not the time. Go get that guy like they did when they got Marian Hossa in the summer of 2009, and they paid him. They said, this guy is going to get us to where we need to go. And I really like your take about, Marian Hossa they got, and they signed him for that, really, really long contract because of his defensive responsibility, because of his longevity. They said, we got the guys now that are going to put the puck in the net. We don't need one more.
And there's a real underrated aspect to that signing was the fact that he had moved teams 3 times and he played well and stayed at his same level on every single team that he played on. There was no drop off. You knew what you were getting in Marian Hossa. You were getting the same guy that played with Detroit, same guy that played with Pittsburgh, same guy that played with Atlanta. Like you were getting the same guy. We don't know that you're going to get that when William Nylander doesn't have
the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
And remember, early on in Hossa's career, he was a prolific scorer, and then he realized that the team didn't need him to score all those points. He had to adjust his game and became a better two-way player. And the 2008 team went to the Western Conference Finals without Marian Hossa and had a bevy of young talent ready to go. The Blackhawks do not have, aside from Connor Bedard, there is no young talent on this roster. I'm sorry, Connor Bedard and Alex Vlasic. You don't know what Samuel Savoy is going to be, Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore. You don't know if those guys are going to be ready. And when they are, that's when you make an expenditure like this. That's when you go out and get a guy that puts you over the edge. I get Connor Bedard needs a running mate. Like he needs somebody to run with him, to score goals, to make it fun. But you don't need to sink $12 million into one guy. You can bring in other guys that can score goals and make your team better and still not hamper you for the long term. This is all about the long game. Like this is all about, like you guys said, 2 to 3 years from now when they're ready to roll, when maybe the fourth line is of guys that we've drafted or cycled through, and the third line is Landon Slaggert and guys like that you've put through your system, and that too expensive for you, you can bring somebody up through the system and you still have your top line of guys. So yeah. Well,
and to Bardo's point that he just wrote or that he just typed in to us, this year's free agent crop, it's not the right time, not the right year to do it when next year there might be a lot more talented players out there. Mitch Marner will be a unrestricted free agent in 2025. So will Fabry. So will Brock Besser. So will Chikrin. So will Aaron Ekblad.
Now, Mitch Marner's a guy that I would be interested in.
Would love Mitch Marner.
I like Mitch Marner. He's like to me, he's like a Patrick Kane light, and that's great.
And he plays with sandpaper. He plays with a lot of sandpaper. He plays with a lot of heart. I would love a Brock Besser. A Brock Besser would fit the lineup really, really well.
We're looking at free agents too, but think about another everything. The Blackhawks have all these draft picks and all these assets. So if they want to acquire somebody via trade, they still have the assets to do that as well. So there could be a two-pronged move. It could be signing a free agent and making a trade, or it could just be making a trade and then signing the player to a big extension.
Yeah,
They're set up.
Everything's lining up.
Yeah, John Bucharest threw this out there because of cap space. That's the only reason he threw it out.
Yeah,
and I think I replied, and he goes, "Well, they have tons of cap space."
That's not. But that's not the.
That doesn't mean you have to use it. Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to use it. It's like the kid.
You have to hit the floor. That's it.
It's like telling your kids, just because you have money in your pocket doesn't mean you have to use it. Like,
don't spend it. Yeah.
Hang on to it. Use it wisely. Don't just put it into the local pop machine or put the quarter into the machine and get a whole handful of gumballs that don't taste good. Like, that's the same thing,
Yeah. Kevin Thomas just wrote in a very good question. Wrote, I might not be in this conversation, but wouldn't the Hawks cap space be better used to pull contracts from teams for draft picks? Let teams be competing open cap through us for draft picks. Yes. Great idea.
Exercise 10-4.
Absolutely.
They did that.
100%.
They did that with Peter Mrazek.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you could take on some tough contracts or two to continue to hit the salary floor while you develop your young talent, A+. Don't just throw around money blind, hoping that you're going to hit the lottery here. I just don't. I'm shocked that, especially after, no, Bedard will not need
an extension. Yep.
Yeah, actually, I was bringing that up. I was talking about that to somebody the other day about how these new young top tier stars, they're basically just skipping right out of their RFA years. They're buying out their RFA years to get an extension.
He's not taking a bridge deal. He's going to.
They're not doing bridge deals anymore. No,
I mean, if he continues to play like he's playing right now, he should make the max probably.
Well, you can't sign William Nylander for $12 million a year at $7 per and give Connor and expect Connor Bedard not to exceed that by a lot.
Right.
And then have two of those players for what, $25 million a year on your books? $26 million? You can't do that. You just can't do that.
No, that's what got him into trouble with Taves and Kane.
Yeah, exactly. It's what's gotten the Oilers in trouble. It's what's gotten Toronto in trouble.
The Oilers. Well, Darnell Nurse got them into trouble.
There's that.
Which is a Seth Jones problem.
Right. Peter Chiarelli got them in trouble.
Well, that's the other thing.
Peter Chiarelli got them in trouble.
So I mean, Seth Jones will still be on the books unless they somehow get really creative.
You acquire the Blackhawks have so many draft picks, but there's a max amount of contracts you can carry. You can only carry 50 contracts.
Yeah.
And then your reserve is 63 or 90 players. So even then, they're going to have to make a deal with some of the assets they have. So why not save them for a team that's going to be in cap hell, that's going to need to, unfortunately, like the Hawks did when they gave up Brian Bickle, they also gave up Teuvo Teravainen to get out of it. And the Hawks are going to be primed ready for that. It's totally
sucked.
But the Hawks are going to be ready for that this time. They're going to be the team that's going to fleece somebody because they have to get out of cap.
Hopefully. If they don't listen to the fans telling them go out get William Nylander.
Well, I think if anything, they don't listen to the fans, because if they listen to the fans, Patrick Kane would be back on the roster. Jonathan Taves would be Blackhawks for life. That's if they listen to the fans, that would happen.
Well, I mean,
they'd be out there in walkers and wheelchairs.
I don't know. You have a history with this family, and granted, two different players. He's not his father either. I get all that, but I don't know. I mean, after watching Rink turns, I remember watching Boston play Toronto. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. Saturday night hockey night in Canada, 3-3 overtime, and the game ended because Nylander just tried to cut across the middle of the ice and he blew a tire, fell down. Marchand goes in and scores. But he does those things. And in the playoffs last year, he just turns away from the play. And I just don't think that's anything that the Blackhawks need right now.
No, you don't want to expose Bedard to that. I know he's smarter than that. It's not one of those things where it's you don't want to put that bad taste in Connor Bedard's mouth like that.
No, I just don't.
You don't want to bring it. You don't want to bring in Tyler Seguin in its prime. You don't want to do that right now.
I mean, the real good one was, and I thought they had a good plan with Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I thought they
he
was,
just
you
got
know,
hurt.
yeah, for former first overall pick, the whole thing went through a lot of things in his career, some
He'll be
ups
back
and
next
downs.
year.
Like he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was the way to go. Like I would much rather have Taylor Hall, a healthy Taylor Hall, playing out there with Connor Bedard than William Nylander. I'm sorry,
Well,
I just
you can still pick up talent in the offseason. I have via free agency or via trade, and get very creative about it without having to make a big splash. You just had the big splash. You know, you had the first overall pick. That's a big splash.
And there might be another big pick coming this next summer too.
Yeah, there could be. They could be in line.
It could be two big splashes. Don't throw William Nylander into there because that doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit.
If you look at
too much money and a roster spot, and that's not, you don't want to.
Well, you look at
for the long term.
I don't know that I'm worried about roster spots at the end of the day. I think they'll be okay in that matter. But like if you look at when Taves and Kane came into the league, and then when they hit their big splash, how many years? There was about 2 years in between there. But it was 06, 07, and then 06 came in at 09.
Yeah, well, it was 06 was Taves at 3 overall, and 07 was Kane number 1 overall. They could do a 1 and 3 again. That very well could happen. I do think it's probably in Gary Bettman's best interest to for the rest of the league to try to get in the way of the Blackhawks having number 1 overall.
Yeah,
but if they get top 2 or 3, that's still great for the league overall because people watch the Blackhawks. You look at the numbers; they draw so well on television. That's why they hyped up the Connor versus Connor game. Like they were putting.
Was there a Connor versus Connor game? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. It was
for what?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's too good. But anyway, the Nylander stuff, folks. I guess believe whatever you want to believe, buy whatever you want to buy in this whole scenario. But I think the folks at the rink collectively believe this is not the time nor the best idea. And it has nothing to do with younger brother's ability to play. Alex Nylander, he was a headache. The family's been a headache. They're much different players. Alex Nylander's stint in Chicago was so bad. There's no real comparable, I don't think, other than maybe Lukas Reichel.
And look at the way that he held Toronto up and held out on him, and the way he acted to be the highest paid player on the team. His ticket that year was like 13 million or something because
I totally forgot about
or something.
He was a contract.
He held him hostage.
He was a holdout.
And knowing that like Marner and Matthews and all those guys were going to need their money. I think he was the first guy after Tavares signed. They knew that those other guys were going to need to get signed, and he held their feet to the fire. And fine, you go out there and get paid. That's all fine and well. But the way you hurt your team by holding out to get that money, and like, was it necessary? I don't know, but.
I don't know. Avoidance is a good thing in this one. So before we hit the hour mark, just some thoughts on that 2024 NHL entry draft. The Blackhawks are currently last in the league. By what, 1 point is it right now? I don't have the standings in front of me. Yeah.
They have 19. Anaheim has 20. San Jose has 21.
Yeah. So percentage-wise, folks, we're talking about another year where the Blackhawks could end the season with the best percentage to land the number 1 overall draft pick. The consensus number 1 overall draft pick is Macklin Celebrini, currently a freshman at Boston University, who is tearing it up, who you will see in the World Junior Tournament.
Chicago Steel's very own.
But either way, if they find a way to get in the top 3, there's a boatload of talent. A lot of people are talking about this player, Cole Iserman, who's at the U.S. development team right now. He's going to be at Boston University. There's a 6'3" center that is very interesting named Caden Lindstrom, who plays in Medicine Hat. That's intriguing. A center with size and could be a player. But the player that we've been knocking around a lot, at the rink and in our chat group is this Michigan State product. This kid, Artem.
Sean?
No.
Yeah, Sean, don't even try.
Oh, Peter Patter, let's get at her.
Yeah.
Artem Levshinov, he's from Belarus. He turned 18 in October. and he's a right-handed 6'3" defenseman from Michigan State who's leading the Big Ten in scoring amongst defensemen. He's everything the Blackhawks need right now. If you look at the Blackhawks prospect pool, it is riddled with left-handed shooting defensemen. And then the only real one that is a legit prospect, and Isaac Phillips is great. Isaac Phillips, I don't think on a contending team is in the top 4. He's just not.
You're qualifying this. I can't wait to hear this.
Do. Well, he's had a good year. He's been great. Like when he comes up, he's great. You know, Ethan Del Mastro maybe could be a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. We don't know. But this kid, this Artem Levshunov, is I'm really high on him. And so if the Hawks have a top 3 pick, if they don't have one, which will be Macklin Celebrini, 2 or 3, they need to think about this kid. That's what I got. Any thoughts on that? Threw this out there. I'm on an island.
My thoughts, my thoughts on that are, I mean, even if, he doesn't work out or whatever, like teams are going to look for big right-handed defensemen. Like you could trade this guy or you could trade one of your other guys, The only time where I would have said like no was like around the Kirby Doc time when they had, drafted 4 defensemen in the first 2 rounds of the previous 2 drafts.
Right.
It's like, how many defensemen are we going to, how many smallish puck moving defensemen are we going to pull into this program? Like, you got to do something different. You needed a forward. We had no forwards in the system. So that's why I supported them getting a forward at the time. And they were like, no, whatever. Bowen Byram still is not, blowing the other defenseman away by any means. So
no, he's not.
He's not doing a whole lot better than Kirby Doc. But anyway, I digress. If you got a good big right-handed defenseman, sure, why not? Bring him in the system. You build from the net and the defense up, and you've already got that gift of Connor Bedard, which is like probably worth 3 number 1 overall draft picks. Right. So like, yeah, sure, bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I'm also, Caden Lindstrom, excuse me, is another one that people have him as high as 2 right now, in passing Cole Eiserman, and I think a 6'3" center would be great. I mean, obviously, a center with size, considering that their prospect pool seems to be smaller speedsters. Getting a bigger, tougher guy. I certainly like that, but that right-hand defenseman need seems pretty glaring these days. And especially when, Connor Murphy is going to be exiting and Seth Jones maybe, have seen his better days by the time this kid is ready. It's just really intriguing.
I mean, they got a lot of centers in the system already, right?
They do. Yeah. I don't think they have a ton with like the big dude.
No, but I'm just saying you're going to be getting real busy in the center position. What Lewinsky's a center, Sorella, Rolson Ryder's a center. It doesn't matter.
Andy's guy Ryan Green,
Ryan
a center.
Yep.
Aiden
is Lardis a center too? He's pretty good. He's had a hell of a year.
No, he's a right winger.
He's a right winger still.
Yeah, he is. And Lewinsky was just removed from the World Junior Championship team. Yeah. He was one of the roster cuts, according to Chris Peters.
Colton Dock's listed as a center.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of centers possibly coming through the system. Now, that being said, too, like a lot of those centers end up being wings. Like they're not going to be centers in the NHL. So, if you have to default to drafting centers, like you can put a center on the wing. That's easy to do. It's harder to put a wing at center. So
absolutely, 100%. So anyway, folks, as we're all watching the Bedard show and grumbling about Lukas Reichel and everything else, and wondering about William Nylander, keep in your back pocket that the Blackhawks are there's a good chance they're going to have a top 5, if not a top 3, or not the number 1 overall pick this year in this year's coming draft. It's pretty exciting to think about. Really exciting. Any final thoughts, lads, before we press onward towards the holidays?
Brandon Slaggert had 2 goals against Michigan 2 weeks ago. He was shut out against Michigan State, putting together a pretty impressive final year at Notre Dame. I still don't think he's going to be anything more than like his highest ceiling is a 3rd line guy. He's probably more than a 4th line guy, but you still need those. So
need those guys.
Yeah, he's got some skill. He didn't score a lot last year, so he's made that a focal point of his game this year. So that's pretty good for him.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to be a third, fourth line guy tops, and he's probably going to be a fourth line guy, grinding it out at the NCAA level is not a bad thing.
Yeah, 4 years at Notre Dame.
Play out your college career and get older and get tougher. I think that's totally fine.
And from what I've read, there's no danger of him not signing with the Blackhawks. So he'll be signed and be in camp probably next year.
If he doesn't, so what?
Yeah, that's
for sure. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a.
Yeah, let's not.
It's not a.
Remember, there were a couple years there. There were a couple years there where every single player was like, "Is he going to sign? I don't know if he's going to sign. He's threatening to not sign. He hasn't signed yet." And they're like,
"Yeah, the Jimmy VC sweepstakes.
Jimmy VC, Kevin Hayes,
Yawn.
Jimmy
VC. There's an August where Jimmy VC was the hottest name in the NHL. It's like, what's going on
here?
Yeah. Anyway, and it is Slaggert, folks. Sean it's not Slager.
No, I got that one right.
You got that one.
I did.
Can confirm.
I got 2 correct. We should have dings for when I got it correct.
Goodness. You got anything, Gate? Any final?
No, I'm just like, it's a little better than last year. Just enjoy what you got. Enjoy Connor Bedard doing what he can out there, and like, don't hang your hat on too many of these players, because there's a good chance a lot of them aren't going to be around in the next couple of years. Yep. There's going to be a lot more turnover before this team gets good again. So just hang in there. Be a little practical. It'll be worth it in the end, I believe.
Absolutely.
One more thing, Andy. It's Blackhawks adjacent. The disaster that is the Chicago Wolves. I don't know if anybody's been following that.
Yeah.
They're last place in the AHL Central Division. The first year a team's been independent since 94, 95, I believe I read. And now their coach has been suspended 10 games for using homophobic slurs directed at a referee. And now he is saying he did not use those against.
He released a statement denying saying anything of the sort. Saying
and he's a Chicago native. It's the whole thing. He was a Wolves legend. Like,
it's an outright disaster is what it is. So
well, I don't understand. Like, I if someone could explain to me, and I don't want to belittle or belabor this too much. I know, Andy, you're struggling.
No, I'm okay.
I don't want to belabor this too much, but I don't understand why they decided they needed to go independent. I don't think I don't know what.
So what I had read, Gate, last
Blues
year
affiliate,
was
right? Blues affiliate?
No, they were Carolina.
Carolina. Okay.
They've been a couple different teams affiliates.
Okay.
Vancouver, Vegas, the St. Louis Blues, and then Carolina.
Yeah.
So the owner, whose name is escaping me at this point, was very upset that the team was focused on development as opposed to winning, and he thought that was the primary goal of his franchise is to be a winner, and they had been a winner in the past, and he wanted to return them to their winning ways. So that's why he decided he didn't want to be an affiliated team anymore, and he wanted to be independent.
Got it.
So that's why he decided to do that. And
that is a very poor decision right there.
Well, I mean, unless they go and pick up Lukas Reichel and make him the next Steve Malte. Malte. What's that guy's name on the Wolves?
Oh my God! I just saw him. I just saw that guy's name. He coaches a youth team.
Rob Brown and Steve Malte. Maltese. I don't know.
I just saw that he does
Wolves
coach a youth
bobblehead on
league.
my desk at work, and I can't remember the guy's name either.
You have a friend that has a Steve Malte bobblehead?
Oh, I have a Wolves bobblehead on my desk at work. I'll have to take a picture of it and send it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I cannot remember who it is.
I was at the Cubs game once when Steve Malte and Rob Brown sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" after they had won the Calder Cup.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Pretty impressive stuff. I'm sure the Cubs were not doing hot that year.
You think?
Yeah, right.
Anything's better than Ozzy Osborn, so we're okay.
Hey.
That's what he said. Hey.
Yeah, well, anyway, tough look with the Wolves right now with what's going on with Coach Nardella, who vehemently denies saying any slur of any kind. Who knows what actually happened, but
there are microphones out there, so I'm sure that
there are. It doesn't sound like, even though he's denying it right now, he's not challenging the suspension.
Yeah, I don't.
So I don't. All right. I mean,
if
he didn't do it.
Ice Hogs do play the Wolves soon. I believe in the next week or two they play.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? Well, anyway, on Sean's happy note.
I always got to leave us.
So good to see
I could butcher another name.
Nobody cares, Sean.
Save some
Nobody
of those.
cares.
Save some of those. There's gonna be some acquisitions. There's gonna be some call ups. Oh, see you, Sean. We heard you're back. Okay.
The hamster.
He's back for a hot minute.
Hit the hamster. Wake him up.
There's going to be more acquisitions in the years to come, more draft picks, Sean. Plenty more names for us all to work on. And we're going to need you there more than ever. So anyway, folks, hopefully we'll get in one more before Christmas arrives. Go Hawks. Hopefully they can string together a win or two. In the meantime, take pride in the future that they have in front of them. And they've got the best rookie in the NHL right now. And boy, is he a wonder to watch. And enjoy it while you can. On behalf of the gatekeeper, Jeff Osborn, and my friend Sean Fitzgerald, have a good night. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, it's nice talking with you, Kev. See you around.
Happy Festivus to those who celebrate.